Hey guys, Lawrence here, and I'm here with 5 things I will miss about Japan. As you may have known, I was in Japan alongside Philly and our friend Hisagi for about 2 weeks, and I'm not gonna lie, it was probably one of the most comfortable and accessible holidays that any of us have ever been on. Even though we were there for a very long time, it really caught up with us in the second half. We thought we had plenty of time to explore Tokyo and Japan, but we then realized, oh my goodness, we're not going to be here for very long. Usually when Philly and I go to a country and visit it, we tend to miss it a little bit. We get used to things, we like how things are done, but then we have to go home and go back to a regular routine. We thought we'd have the same thing about Japan, but this was like on a whole other scale. I didn't even know how to describe it. I mean, when we had to show our boarding pass and actually go through security in Paris, everything was just really rushed, rude, curt, that kind of thing. It was just a real coming down from a really good high. I'm gonna give you 5 things I definitely miss and something that you should make the most of when you're there. And let's just say, first off, if you're planning on traveling around more than just Tokyo, get a Japan Rail Pass. They are made for tourists and you will instantly save a lot of money after just one trip on a bullet train. 1. Convenience. All of the things that you've heard about Japan in terms of convenience are absolutely 100% true. There are convenience stores almost everywhere. 2 minutes walk away and you'll go from one to another. And one thing you'll notice is that there is brand loyalty. Usually you can just go to any kind of convenience store, whatever, it doesn't matter. They tend to just, be the same. But places like 7-Eleven, Lawson, as well as Family Mart, and there are plenty of other smaller ones, you tend to actually gravitate towards those instead of jumping in from one to another. Like for example, Philly and I, we tended to go mostly into 7-Elevens because there were 2 within a 3-minute walk of our hotel. And don't think that with convenience stores you're paying a premium for them. No, everything there is really affordable, including, if you want, a mix of fresh fruit inside 2 pieces of bread, a fresh fruit sandwich, because that is a thing. Vending machines. Oh boy, the vending machines. These are so cool. They have everything you want, reasonably cheap, for like $1.50 at most, or a quid. And sometimes they put them on sale so you get people coming in, changing the prices, so sometimes it's less than $1. And less than $1 for a can or a bottle of something? That's really cool. Not to mention getting hot bottles of coffee. And the coffee isn't that bad either. Everything is 24 hours. So if you want to get up in the middle of 3 AM, you got the munchies, walk around to a convenience store, there is someone there and they will give you good service. There are eateries out there which are truly 24 hours. And they're not dives or anything like that. There are places like Matsuya, you got Sukiya, and Sukiya was the one that we went to, again brand loyalty, where you can get a bowl of gyudon, which is basically beef and rice, for about $5. And it's a good portion too. And you can get pork miso for an extra $1. So you could feed 3 people for under $20. That's pretty good. 2. Transport. Oh man, the transport. It's exceptional. There are plenty of opportunities and varieties of transport that you can choose from. But really, you're gonna want to pick the train. Usually, places with transport, like trains, are usually really difficult to get your head around, and initially, with Tokyo's metro service, as well as their different companies, which can get very confusing, it is a bit of a noodle scratcher at first, but after a few days, Philly and I, we really got the hang of it. Much more so than the New York subway. It took us until we actually were about to leave to get a handle on how the New York subway worked. And we thought the underground was complicated. Once you get the hang of it, it's actually quite easy to follow, and it's also really good because you can find really cheap ways of getting around. But on that thing about different companies, yeah, there's at least 3 different companies operating different lines, so I really wouldn't recommend getting a pass on just one of the lines. I would say, again, get a Japan Rail Pass, that will really help you for the JR lines, or get a Suica or a Passmo card. They're really cool, you can get your name on them, and they're not that expensive at all. And you can use them on all of the lines in Tokyo. And in fact on the buses, pretty much around the country. If you got a Passmo or a Suica card, you're pretty much golden. Everything's clean, on time and orderly. You feel like you're actually a valued customer. And that is really critical. And something that we absolutely adored. Number 3, hospitality. Despite the language barrier out there, people in Japan are very, very keen to help you. They will do their utmost to make sure that whatever you're up to, you get it done well and you get it done with a smile. The hotel that we were staying at, the Kotoha Hotel at Okachimachi, it was absolutely stunning despite the small hotel space. But honestly, you're in Tokyo, that's just a given. And yes, there is a language barrier, but people in Japan are patient and they will allow you time to figure out how to say something in Japanese or just try out something in English. You'll get through to them eventually and you won't be harangued into giving a response or saying what you're trying to say. And in fact, if you do actually say something in Japanese, people will applaud you. They will appreciate that you're actually making an effort. And if you can't, or if you can't string something together, just keep it very short, keep it like just 1 or 2 words, you can get through to people. And with the Olympics coming, there are more and more English signs out there, so you can get around. So all of this thinking that you won't be able to feed yourself in Tokyo or anything like that, as long as you've got some yen in your pocket and like, you know, an intuitive brain, you can pretty much get a handle very quickly. I mean, we did. Number 4, green space. Now I know what you're thinking. Green space in Tokyo? Really? Yeah, surprisingly so. Even though urbanization is absolutely rife in Tokyo, there are loads of places where you can go and either practice a hobby or just have a walk around in really surprisingly good serenity. Like, there is a park effectively every 10-15 minutes, and they're not small parks either. You can go to a shrine or a temple or something like that, but avoid Sensoji Temple around New Year's because that can get pretty crammed. But the one favourite that Philly and I loved to go to was Ueno Park. It was a very big park near Okachimachi, and there was just so much to do, including having a zoo in it. But then having said that, the Imperial Gardens Park above it, the Chidoriya Gafuchi Park, I think that's what it's called, I keep forgetting, but that park is absolutely adorable, and plenty of places to go, including Kyoto, which we did travel to. And then there's also Nishinopori, there's a little park overlooking the city. Absolutely wonderful, despite its really small stature. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're looking for a bit of greenery, or just where there are some forestry and foliage, you're not that far away from it, surprisingly. And with that, if you're trying to get some peace and quiet in Tokyo, it's actually really accessible. And lastly, 5, one of the things I really miss about Japan, safety. In Tokyo, I did not once feel vulnerable or anything like that. And that might be down to the fact that I'm 6'3" and a Westerner, and I probably look more intimidating to the locals, but usually whenever I go to a new place, or even walking around where I live, I usually feel a bit uneasy or uncertain. I feel paranoid. But in Tokyo, in fact in the whole of Japan, I didn't feel that at all. For 2 weeks, I could just go out walking at 1 AM with Hasagi when we were walking back from Wrestle Kingdom. We could just go down random roads and stuff like that. Spending 30 minutes out in the dark when it's really quiet and no one else is around to see you. Absolutely fine. I'd never had that before, no matter where we went. And that was just eye-opening to me. It's just, that really stuck with me. Crime is not a factor. And of course, no matter where you go, there is going to be crime. But while we were there, we didn't really experience anything at all directly. I mean, yeah, there was an incident in Harajuku and many people were injured, but, you know, there were no casualties or anything like that, but that's something few and far between. That natural feeling of assurance is absolutely priceless, and I would give anything to have that feeling here. But honestly, I don't. And it's really sad. And going to Japan, you come back and you realize that, wow, a lot of people here can be real jerks. And that's not assuming everyone's like that. Like yesterday, when I went to go and get some gas or petrol or whatever, you know, got someone wishing me Happy New Year at the till. That was really nice. You know, there are kind people out there, of course, but in Japan, people will do their utmost to make sure customer service is absolutely spot on. And I know that the work culture can be very demanding and grueling, and that's probably why, but in terms of a tourist, I felt absolutely blissful in Japan, and I cannot wait to go back, either for the Rugby World Cup or maybe for the Olympics, or just because. Because quite frankly, going to Tokyo is surprisingly cheap, much cheaper or just as good as going to America. I mean, yeah, just, man, I miss Japan. These are 5 things that I really miss about Japan. And honestly, if you have the chance to go to Japan, because it's a lot cheaper than you might think, do. because it is something you will not regret. And just think, you don't have to just stick to Tokyo. I mean, there's Kyoto, there's Osaka, there's Sendai, there are plenty of other cities which are a bit off the beaten track, but you will get your money's worth if you go out to Japan. I hope you guys found this interesting or maybe a little bit insightful. If you have any extra questions, do leave them down in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. Take care of yourselves, and once again, one is glad to be of service.